Dear Mrs. LaRue, it's a letter from Obedience School from her dog, Ike LaRue, okay? So if you look at the first page there, there's a little news flash showing that the Snort City Register Gazette. On September 30th, local dog enters Obedience School. So let me read this first page and then you guys can kind of give me an idea, raise your hand when we're done with the first page of what you think might happen in the story, okay? Citing a long list of behavioral problems, Snort City resident Gertrude R. LaRue yesterday enrolled her dog, Ike, in the Igor Rottweiler Canine Academy. Established in 1953, the academy has a history of dealing with such issues. I'm at my wit's end, said Mrs. LaRue. I love Ike, but I'm afraid he's quite spoiled. He steals food right off the kitchen counter, chases the neighbor's cats, and howls whenever I'm away. And last week, while I was crossing the street, he pulled me down and tore my best camel hair's coat. I just don't know what else to do. School officials were unavailable for comment. So, if somebody wants to raise their hand just by looking at that, what do you think Miss LaRue is feeling right now?
That he's a bad dog.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because it says here, he changes the neighbor's cats, howls whenever I'm away, and last week while I was crossing the street, he pulled me down and tore my best camel hair coat.
Okay, does anybody have a dog like that misbehaves and does bad things? What do you think from the story? This might happen. What do you think might happen from reading that?
Well, should I take him to obedience school and he might just not listen when he turns out to be really good?
Maybe he'll get better, maybe he won't, we'll find out. Jason, you have something to add? What do you think is going to happen? Not sure?
I just forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, one more, what do you think?
I think he's going to try to escape.
You think so? Does that mean that maybe he won't like going to obedience school? Okay, let's read on and we'll find out, okay? Dear Mrs. LaRue, how could you do this to me? This is a prison, not a school. You should see the other dogs. They are bad dogs, Mrs. LaRue. I do not fit in. Even the journey here was a horror. I am very unhappy and may need something to chew on when I get home. Please come right away. Sincerely, Ike. Okay. So as we go through the story here, let's pay attention to some of the pictures are black and white and some are in color. So later on we might talk about that, okay? So go ahead and turn the page. October 2nd. Dear Mrs. LaRue, were you really upset about the chicken pie? You know, you might have discussed it with me. You could have said, Ike, don't eat the chicken pie. I'm saving it for dinner. Would that have been so difficult? It would have prevented a lot of hard feelings. Needless to say, I am being horribly mistreated. You say I should be patient and accept that I'll be here through the term. Are you aware that the term lasts 2 months? Do you know how long that is in dog years? Sincerely, Ike. Go ahead and turn the page again. October 3rd. Dear Mrs. LaRue, I'd like to clear up some misconceptions about the Hibbins cats. First, they are hardly little angels. Mrs. Hibbins makes them out to be. Second, how should I know that they were doing out on the fire escape in the middle of January? They were being a bit melodramatic, don't you think? The way they cried and refused to come down, it's hard to believe they were really sick for 3 whole days. But you know cats. Your dog, Ike. October 4th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, you should see what goes on around here. The way my warden, Miss Klondike, barks orders is shocking. Day after day, I'm forced to perform the most meaningless tasks. Today it was sit and roll over all day long. I flatly refuse to roll over. It's ridiculous. I won't do it. Of course, I was severely punished. And another thing, who will help you cross the street while I'm away? You know you've had a bad habit of not looking both ways. Think of all the times I've saved you. Well, there was that one time anyway. I must say you weren't very grateful, complaining on and on about the tiny rip in your ratty old coat. But the point is, you need me. Yours, Ike. October 5th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, the guards here are all caught up in this good dog, bad dog thing. I hear it constantly. Good dog, Ike. Don't be a bad dog, Ike. Is it really so good to sit still like a lummox all day? Nevertheless, I refuse to be broken. Miss Klondike has taken my typewriter. She claims it disturbs the other dogs. Does anybody care that the other dogs disturb me? Yours, Ike. Pay attention to kind of what's going on in some of these pictures as we go through the story. October 6th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, were the neighbors really complaining about my howling? It's hard to imagine. First, I don't howl that much. You were away those nights, so you wouldn't know. But trust me, it was quite moderate. Second, let's recall these are the same neighbors who are constantly waking me up in the middle of the afternoon with their loud vacuuming. I say we all have to learn to get along. My life here continues to be a nightmare. You wouldn't believe what goes on in the cafeteria. Sincerely, Ike. P.S. I don't want to alarm you, but the thought of escape has crossed my mind. October 7th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, I hate to tell you this, but I'm terribly ill. It started in my paw, causing me to limp all day. Later, I felt queasy so that I could barely eat dinner, except for the yummy gravy. Then I began to moan and howl. Finally, I had to be taken to the vet. Dr. Wilfrey claims that he can't find anything wrong with me, but I am certain I have an awful disease. I must come home at once. Honestly yours, Ike. Okay, so let's stop right there for a second. What conclusions can we draw from what Ike's saying in this letter so far?
He doesn't want to be there.
He doesn't want to be there. Very good. What about you?
He was making it up about how he was ill because
He's kind of making up some excuses to get attention, isn't he?
he thinks he's in prison.
He thinks he's in prison, but what are the pictures telling us? We have some in black and white and some in color. What are we seeing there?
I read the book, so I know what they are. And black ones are his memory, are what he's imagining, and the color one is what's actually happening.
So maybe it's not so bad as he's making it out to be, huh? Jason, do you have something to say? No? Okay. Well, let's read on. Let's turn the page. October 8th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, thank you for the lovely get well card. Still, I'm a little surprised that you didn't come get me. I know what Dr. Wilfrey says, but is it really wise to take risks with one's health? I could have a relapse, you know. With fall here, I think about all the fine times we used to have in the park. Remember how sometimes you would bring along a tennis ball? You would throw it and I would retrieve it every time. Except for that once, when it landed in something nasty and I brought you back a stick instead. Ah, how I miss those days. Yours truly, Ike. P.S. Imagine how awful it is for me to be stuck inside my tiny cell. P.P.S. I still feel pretty sick. October 9th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, by the time you read this, I will be gone. I have decided to attempt a daring escape. I'm sorry it's come to this. Sincerely, I am really a very good dog. But frankly, you left me no choice. How sad is it not to be appreciated? From now on, I'll wander from town to town without a home or even any dog food, most likely. Such is the life of a desperate outlaw. I will try to write to you from time to time as I carry on with my life of hardship and danger. Your lonely fugitive, Ike. October 10th, the Snort City Register Gazette. LaRue escapes doggy detention. Former Snort City resident Ike LaRue escaped last night from the dormitory at Igor Brautweiler Canine Academy. The dog is described as toothy by local police. His current whereabouts are unknown. To be honest, I thought he was bluffing when he told me he was planning to escape, said visibly upset Gertrude R. LaRue, the dog's owner. Ike tends to be a bit melodramatic, you know. Now I can only pray that he'll come back. Asked if she would return Ike to Brautweiler Academy, Mrs. LaRue said that she would have to wait and see. He's a good dog basically, but he can be difficult. October 11th, somewhere in America. Dear Mrs. LaRue, I continue to suffer horribly as I roam this barren wasteland. Who knows where my wanderings will take me now? Hopefully to some place with yummy food. Remember the special treats you used to make for me? I miss them. I miss our nice, comfy apartment. But mostly, I miss you. Your sad dog, Ike. P.S. I even miss the Hibbins cats in a way. Okay, we'll stop there for a second. What do you think Ike is trying to tell his owner?
He's sorry.
He's sorry, maybe he's regretful of his behavior. He said that maybe he's thinking twice about what he did, huh? Jason?
He wants to go back home with his sister. He probably misses her.
He probably misses her, yeah. What do you think's going on?
And he wants to.
Maybe he's trying to tell us that life wasn't so bad at the obedience school, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and read on. October 12th, still somewhere. Dear Mrs. LaRue, the world is a hard and cruel place for a stray dog. You would scarcely believe the misery I've endured. So I have decided to return home. You may try to lock me up again, but that is a risk I must take. And frankly, even more than myself, I worry about you. You may not know it, Mrs. LaRue, but you need a dog. Your misunderstood friend, Ike. October 13th, the Snort City Register Gazette. Hero dog saves owner. Ike LaRue, until recently a student at Igor Brotweiler Canine Academy, returned to Snort City yesterday in dramatic fashion. In fact, he arrived just in time to rescue his owner, Gertrude R. LaRue of 2nd Avenue, from an oncoming truck. Mrs. LaRue had made the trip downtown to purchase a new camel hair coat. Apparently, she neglected to look both ways before stepping out into traffic. The daring rescue was witnessed by several onlookers, including Patrolman Newton Smitzer. He rolled right across 2 lanes of traffic to get at her, Smitzer said. It was really something. I haven't seen rolling like that since I left the police academy. You see where she, on that page before you turn it, you see Mrs. LaRue come on the page in her jacket? Mrs. LaRue was unhurt in the incident, though her coat was badly torn. I don't care about that, she said. I'm just happy to have my Ike back home where he belongs. LaRue said she plans to throw a big party for her dog. All the neighbors will be there, and I'm going to serve Ike's favorite dishes. I'll bet he can't wait to taste the chicken pie. Welcome home. Okay, we'll stop there since that's the end of the story, but what do you guys think from what we read from the beginning to the end of the story? Do you think maybe Ike was exaggerating during the story?